Alright, in this video we are going to learn about the slab roller. This is a hand crank operated slab roller. Before we begin, we need to learn a little bit about how this slab roller works. Let's set this aside. Here we have the top and the bottom roller. The clay needs to go in between these rollers to be turned into a slab. Here we have a couple of different sheets of wood. These are different thicknesses, and depending on how thick your slab needs to be, will depend on how many of these you need. So if your slab of clay needs to be thicker, you would remove as many of these sheets of wood as you need to. With these 3 sheets of wood, my slabs will end up being 1/4 of an inch thick. The first thing that you will need to do is push them until they are touching that bottom roller. Once these sheets of wood are pressed up against this bottom roller, I like to press against this bottom sheet while I'm giving the roller a crank to pull these sheets in between the rollers. Next, you will need your canvas, because without this canvas, if we were to run clay on the wood and in between the rollers, the clay will get stuck to the wood and stuck to the rollers, and you'll have a mess to clean up. The canvas prevents that from happening. So get the canvas in place, and then get your clay ready. Depending on what type of slab you need will depend on the orientation of your clay and how much clay you need. If you need a slab of clay that is really long, you're going to want a lot of clay in the horizontal direction. So this slab of clay will end up being pretty long, whereas this slab of clay won't be as long, but it'll be really wide. One thing to know with a slab roller, clay will not be pressed out in the vertical direction. It'll only be pressed out in the horizontal direction. So if your slab needs to be 6 inches wide, your clay needs to start off 6 inches wide. So clay needs to be wrapped in the canvas. Make sure that you don't have any wrinkles or creases in your canvas, because those will show up in your clay. Then you can start cranking. I like to give a little bit of pressure to begin with to help that clay be pulled through those 2 rollers. When it gets easy to roll, I like to go backwards. That way I don't have to pull the sheets of wood back and forth. So now I have 2 different slabs. One that's about the size of a square, or is about square. And then one that is really long.